Now onto the back, you should have worked number 5 out dealing with the basketball pole, forming supplementary angles with the ground. So you should have taken both angles here and set them equal to 180 degrees. So I combined like terms in this step, subtracted 5 here, divided by 7 here, and I got x equals 25. However, 25 is not the answer. 25 must come over here and substitute in here for the x's. Therefore, the measure of BCA, when 25 goes in there, 3 times 25 is 75 plus 8. Hopefully you got 83 degrees for the first one. Now there's two ways to get the next one. You can plug in 4 times 25. You get 100 and you subtract 3 and you will get 97. Or if you did not want to do that, you could have simply said 180 minus 83 because they are supplementary. Together they form 180 degrees. Now let's move on to question 6. It says identify all of the linear pairs and all of the vertical angles in the figure. Now let's start out by making a label for linear pairs. And remember the definition of a linear pair. They are on opposite rays, which means they're on a line, and they are adjacent. So the first ones that I see here, I do see this line right here. So I'm going to say that 1 and 2 form a linear pair. So angle 1 and angle 2. Now readjusting, I'm going to look this way, and I see that 2 and 3 also form a linear pair because they are on opposite rays and they touch. And readjusting, I'm going to look. These are not a linear pair because pair means 2. This has 3. And going this way, these are not linear pairs again because there's 3. Linear pair is only 2. So angle 1 and angle 2 form a linear pair. Angle 3 and angle 2 form a linear pair. The question also asks us to do vertical angles. So let's make a list for vertical angles. Now remember the definition, it says they're on opposite rays. The easiest way to think about them though is they are across from each other in a perfect diagonal. So 1 and 3 meet this definition. Now this is why. This is an opposite ray, that's an opposite ray, that's an opposite ray, that's an opposite ray. 1 and 3 are across from each other. Therefore, angle 1 and angle 3 are by definition vertical angles. Now, you may think 2 and 4 are because they kind of look across from each other, and even 2 and 5 are. But let me show you using 2 and 4 why they are not opposite rays. Why they're not vertical angles. Here is the opposite ray of 2 and 4, but if you look at this guy, 2 does not form an opposite ray with 4 or 5. So if I look at 5, here's its opposite rays, but with 5 again, it's not forming those opposite rays. So it's got to just about be just a perfect X. So 1 and 3 are vertical angles. Now, moving on to question 7. It says 2 angles form a linear pair. The measure of one angle is 4 times the measure of the other. Find the measure of each angle. Now remember, vocabulary words without a picture, the very first thing that I want you always to do is to draw a picture. If they are forming a linear pair, they are on a line. So the first thing you would do is you would draw a line. Next thing, they have to touch. So I have no idea what they are, but I know they're adjacent on a line. And it says one measure of the angle is 4 times the other. Well, I have no idea what that one is. So I simply put an X. Then the other one is 4 times that one. So now I'm ready to set up an equation. Now, since they form a linear pair, they are on a line right here. And we know lines are 180 degrees. It's a straight angle. So we simply say 4x plus x equals 180 degrees. Combine like terms, 5x equals 180 degrees. Divide by 5. type that into your calculator, you are going to get 36. Now, that is x, and it says find the measure of each angle. Well, this is 36. So the measure of the first angle is 36 degrees. Now we're going to take 36 and multiply that by 4. And 4 times 36 is 144 degrees. Now, to check ourselves, we should be able to add this up and get 180, and we do. Therefore, I know these two answers are correct. They form a linear pair. This one is 4 times greater than the first one. Now, for the next one, it says, in this figure, the measure of angle 3 is x plus 18. I always label my figures. The measure of angle 4 is x plus 15. And the measure of angle 5 is 4x plus 3. What is the value of x is the first question. What is the measure of angle 1 is the next question. And then it says, is 3 complementary to 1? Explain. So the first thing we have to decide is how are we going to solve for x? Well, the first thing I notice is that all 3 of these angles are forming a line. So since they are forming a line, I can add all 3 angles up and set them equal to 180. We know that as the angle addition postulate. So we're going to take 4x plus 3. We are going to take the x plus 15. And we are going to take the x plus 18. And we are going to set that equal to 180 degrees. We are now going to combine like terms, so I'm going to put all of the x's together for a 6x. Now I'm going to put all of the numbers together for a 36 equals 180. 6x, now we are going to subtract 36. 6x is going to be 144 when we subtract. Then we're going to divide by 6, and x is going to equal 24. So the first answer is x is 24. Now it goes on to tell me to find the measure of angle 1. The measure of angle 1. So for this, we can find all of the measures here, but if you will notice between 3 and 1, they are vertical angles. So those are vertical angles. They're across from each other. Therefore, those are partnered up. So if x is 24, this angle down here will be 24 plus 18, which if we do the math, that is a 42-degree angle. Well, since it's vertical angle to 1, that's also 42 degrees. So the answer to B is 42 degrees. Now, it says, is angle 3 complementary to angle 1? Explain. Well, we've already stated that angle 3 is 42, and we've stated angle 1 is 42. So if they're complementary, 42 plus 42 needs to equal 90. Well, we can clearly see that 42 does not equal 90 because this is 84. So it says to explain. So we need to say no, they don't add to 90 degrees. If something is complementary, they have to add to 90 degrees. Now, if you'll notice, all of those problems that we have now completed all go back to knowing your vocabulary. So your vocabulary is very important in this lesson. Also in this lesson is what you can and can't assume about a diagram. So this last thing is a concept summary, interpreting a diagram, and this is always true. It says there are some things that you can conclude from a diagram, and some you cannot. So for example, here are some things that you can conclude from this diagram. The first thing that it says is all points shown are. Well, this is, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. They are on our paper. Therefore, they are coplanar. You can always assume points are coplanar. Now the next one, points A, B, and C are, what's up with A, B, and C? Well, they are collinear. Collinear. Okay? And since they are collinear, B is in between A and C. Now, next, talking about rays, okay, and lines. It says line AC and ray BD and ray BE all do something at point B. Well, you can see that they intersect. So even though B does not have the dot, you can see the dot, there's no dot right there, we still know that they intersect at B. Okay, moving on. Angle DBE, which is this angle, and angle EBC, which is this angle, are something angles. Well, they're touching. Therefore, they are adjacent angles. And angle ABC, here's angle ABC, is a straight angle. We learned that the other day. So if they fall in a line, they are a straight angle. Now last, point E lies in the blank of DBC. Point E lies where? Point B lies in the interior. So the word that's going to go here is interior. Now, notice just some extra things here moving along. It says in the diagram above some things you cannot conclude. You cannot conclude that AB is congruent to BC. Now, why can't you conclude that? Because it looks like they are. It's simply because the tick marks aren't there or the verbal description's not there. So you have to be told that those are congruent. Another thing, you cannot say that DBE is congruent to EBC. We're not told that, so we can't assume that. And we also, and this is the one that always gets us, we cannot assume that that is a right angle, ABD. It has to have the box or it has to tell us that it is right angle. So that's what it's saying. This information must be indicated. Now, this wraps up the notes part. Now you are going to progress through the module and answer the questions for credit. Remember, these questions count. They are part of the video module. If you have watched the video and taken the notes, you will be able to do the following questions.